Amen. And Kevin Moss.
Probably a good thing. Keep going, I'll be up here and I'll be able to speak. All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much this morning. Thank you for the mothers that we're here to honor today. Just thank you for the examples that they set in our lives, the first loves that we understand, the first pictures of you that we really get as children. Just thank you for them. And Lord, if there's anybody that has never accepted you in salvation, maybe this will be the morning that they do. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, a mother's love. So we're setting aside Philippians. We've been doing Philippians to talk about mothers this morning. And let's tell you, I talked to many people, and people are giving me suggestions about what mother to talk about. And, you know, Hannah, go talk about Hannah. Go talk about this one, go talk about that one. Wayne said, talk about Jezebel again. I said, no, not doing that. We'll stay away from that one. And so you're looking for a mother to talk about. And I'm like, you know, I'll just talk about the mother that I know best, mine. So y'all get to hear about my mom this morning, all right? And I didn't call my mother mother. We weren't that formal at my house. I called her mama. And so if you see mama on the screen this morning, it's because I never used the word mother. The only time I used the word mother was Mother's Day. It was always mama. And my mom died a year ago Friday. So it's kind of a recent passing, so we'll be talking about in past tense today. But we'll be talking about moms. And you know, at my house, every day's Mother's Day, except Valentine's Day. So just so y'all know, that's the way I treat mine. All you guys, y'all need to treat your wives that way. Every day's Mother's Day or Valentine's Day. So that keeps you out of trouble, right? So, yeah, Donna argued that very fiercely. So anyway, but your mother's your first love. I mean, it is the first love that you experience. It's something, mothers are anxiously awaiting your arrival. Your mother, before you're born, before they're pregnant with you, the idea of you they're in love with. They get pregnant with you. They love you while you're in their womb. They anxiously await your arrival. They can't wait to see your little face. They so look forward to it. They do all kind of preparations. They build nurseries. They do all this nesting stuff. They have showers, and they have this imaginary life that they've already built for you. They love you before they've ever seen you. and they can't wait to meet you. That's a great feeling, you know. Somebody wants to see me that's never met me, and they're excited about it. And you get to feel that love from the very first day. And moms have always been involved with the process the whole way. You know, us daddies like to say, we had a child, and the mamas like to look sideways at them and say, who is this we? I didn't see you in any pain. All I saw you over there was handing out cigars and having a good time. You know, they go through a lot. Mothers do, just to get us here. Just to get us here. And they'll love us forever. You have a hard time doing something to make your mama not love you. You would have to have a hard time doing something that bad. And you don't really know your mama for a while. When you're born, you know, you recognize her voice. You've heard it for so long. You recognize her smell. You recognize a lot about her. But when you're born, your eyes can't even see that far. You know, and so you don't recognize her face until later on. But you know her touch. You know her voice. And you know that when something goes wrong, that's who you want to grab you. You pitch a fit if somebody takes you away from her. You ever seen, oh, I want to hold the baby, and they go over there and, wah, you know. Babies don't want to leave their mom. That's their comfort zone. They know that they can trust, be fed, to be held, to have their pain looked after, to have all this stuff done. They're your lifeline. Your mother is literally your lifeline. You're totally dependent on her, and you crave her presence. Many nights, my mom had a rocker. That thing squeaked. Creak, creak. Most comforting sound I ever heard. Creak, creak. You wouldn't think that would be the comforting sound, right? But knowing that she's rocking made you feel good. Marilyn was just telling me, her grandmother rocked her till she was, what, 5? And you'd crawl right in her lap today if you could. Just that feeling of being held and loved. When you're teething, oh my goodness. You want to talk about a mama putting up with some stuff? The teething process, so terrible to have to go through. And mamas will hold their babies all night. Ear infections, oh my goodness. The ear infections, the crying that won't stop because of the ear infection. But mothers will go through that. They'll put up with it. They'll do anything for their child. And when you get older, how many professional athletes are the first person they want to recognize when they win something is their mama? I did it, mama, you know. But also, who's the first person you want to call when you're hurting? It used to upset Donna because if I didn't feel good, I wouldn't call her. I'd call mom and say, what am I supposed to do? It took years to get out of that. It's not good. It was terrible. But I didn't trust her like I trusted my mama, because mama had to answer to everything. She had to. And when I quit calling mama, and I started totally depending on Donna, and mama would find out I'd been hurt or something had happened, boy, would I get a chewing out. Why didn't you call me? Well, I have a wife that takes care of me now. You still got to call me. I'm still your mama. You'll always be, I don't care how old you are, you're always your mama's baby. People are like, I look forward to the days when my kids move out. They don't ever move out, really. They never really move out. We're always sitting there causing trouble. Always. So, but it's the kind of love, it reminds you of a passage in the Bible. And people usually save this for marriage. Everybody wants to have this read at marriage. Oh, when we get married, I want to talk about love. They don't even know what love is yet. You learn that over years and years and years. You grow into that love, the kind of love that we're talking about here. But mamas, yeah, they love. It says love suffers long and is kind, does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. You know, what happens if you take that passage and you say, I'm going to take the word love out and I'm going to replace it with the word mama? What does it look like? And so I started thinking about that, and it's like, it looks pretty accurate. It looks fairly accurate. It reminded me of my mama. Now, before we go any further, I'm not here to shame any mamas this morning. I'm not here to tell you you're a bad mama. I'm not here to tell you anything. And no mama was perfect. I'd like to think mine was, but she wasn't. No mama is perfect. We're all human. So we got to agree on that before we start talking about mamas and love. Now, we like to remember our mamas in the best light. Everybody wants to think about the great things your mama did. When me and my brother and two sisters get together, we like to tell stories about our mama. Even at her funeral, we were telling stories about my mama. You know, my mama was one of them syllable spankers. Y'all know what a syllable spanker is? If I told you once, I told you 1,000 times. My mama, shorten the sentence up. Use one syllable words. Get this thing done, you know. But no mama's perfect. And so let's agree on that before we get started. So, you have a syllable spanker? Tell you what, we need some syllable spankers out there, trust me. And learn to steady beat. Tell you what, it'll do it for you. And so here's what this looked like. Let's start with, I replaced mother with mama and all this kind of stuff, so it's a little familiar. But mama was patient. Now, I'll be the first person to call my mama out for losing her patience. My mama had 4 kids. And we were anybody with the neighborhood gathering place where all the kids in the neighborhood like to pile into your house? We were the neighborhood piling place. There were times there'd be 14, 15 kids running around the house. And I'd say, Mama's lost her patience. No, we just pushed Mama too far. That's all that was. You know, everybody breaks. But if you look at patience, what is the word for patience? It's also long-suffering, forbearance. It's the ability to endure difficult circumstances. People that can persevere in the face of delays, face of pain, the face of provocation, especially when responding to like anger or disrespect or anything. If you look at it like that, somebody that can put up with the disrespect, the anger, all the stuff that you have to put up from a child, Mama was patient. Mama was very patient. When I started reflecting on how I affected her, I figured out she was more patient than I remembered, because she put up with a lot more off me than I probably would have put up off myself. She was so patient. Ephesians 4:2 says this about patience: always be humble and gentle, be patient, allowing for each other's faults because of your love. Allowing for others' faults because of your love. Doesn't that describe a mother? She will allow for her children's faults because of her love. That is such a great way to describe patience. My mama allowed for my faults because of her love. But she also kept me in check for the same reason, because of her love. So when she did lose her patience, it was probably because I had gotten out of line and needed to be pushed back into a good line where I don't hurt myself. She would be as humble and as gentle as she could. Mama would. She would take care of us whenever we were going down a path that looked like we were heading for destruction. She would stop us in patience. But she would let us go as far as she could to let us learn a lesson. You know, sometimes being nice to somebody involves letting them hurt themselves. Sometimes the only way we learn is through pain. And so sometimes she had to let us go down a road that she would rather not see us go down because it hurt her worse than it hurt us to watch it happen. But she was patient. She put up with it just so we would learn the lesson that we had to learn. You know, Mom always liked to say, you know, this is hurting me worse than it's hurting you. Like, that ain't your rear end's being tore up. It literally was hurting her. You don't find that out until it's your turn to discipline a child. That's when you find that out, that it really does hurt you more than it hurt her. And when she was doing something that we were doing something that we thought was detrimental, she would put her foot down. Now, we thought the putting the foot down was the detrimental part to our health. It wasn't. Learning was good for us. You know, when I was a kid, one of the worst things you could do in public is not say ma'am and sir. If you didn't say ma'am and sir, you were going to have a stern interaction when you got home. I'm like, it's so simple. You know, it's just a word. It's just a word. It wasn't just a word to her, and she wouldn't put up with it. And I'm like, well, she just loses her patience because I just don't want to say what she wants me to say. Well, it turns out she was trying to teach me life lessons. Those two simple words that she stayed on top of me and would not tolerate me not saying. And I kept thinking she was losing her patience was actually one of the best things she ever did for me. To treat people with respect. And it's little things like that that your mama does that you don't understand until later on how important they were. Learn how to treat people with respect. There's tons of other examples you can get, but patience was important. And then there's like physical patience. You know, how many ball games did your mom sit through when she didn't even like baseball? How many recitals did she sit through when, oh my goodness, my sister could not play a piano? But she would sit there just smile and be proud of what we did. How many band concerts where I was raunchy on a trumpet, had to blow on a tuba, did she have to sit through? Didn't complain, so proud, took pictures with us when it was over. What a patient mom. What was she doing? Helping me grow into me, patiently. Mom was kind. Now, kindness, people get kindness all mixed up about what it is. Oh, they're just so soft-spirited. Kindness ain't always about a soft-spirited. Kindness is a type of behavior marked by acts of generosity, consideration, rendering assistance, or concern for others without worrying about how it affects you. You don't want praise out of it. You're just doing it for others. Now, those are some good words in there. When you talk about rendering assistance or showing concern for others, kindness can mean a lot of things. Now, my mama was a hard woman. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that right up front. My mama was one hard woman. She grew up in the projects. How many people know what projects are? Kids don't even use that word anymore. Well, she grew up in the projects in Savannah, Georgia called Deptford Homes. They called it desperate homes, people that lived there. And when she was 5, she was already babysitting her other siblings and her nieces and nephews. She was feeding them, she was changing diapers, she was doing all that so her mama could go to work. Times were not good. She had a deadbeat dad who kicked her through a front screen door and gave her permanent back injury that she had 8 surgeries to fix across her life. Mama grew up hard. They moved her out from Desperate Homes out by what is now Fort Jackson, which was at the end of President Street in Savannah, which was a swamp. The bus ended 3/4 of a mile from her house because the road didn't go any farther. She would walk, and if the river was high, she had to take her shoes off, pull her dress up, because she would walk through water that deep to get home most days. That's where they lived. You could see the chickens running under the floor. They didn't have indoor plumbing. She grew up hard. She grew up very hard. She didn't have a lot of the things that we have today. But she never complained. She just accepted it. But she also didn't let us complain. She didn't accept excuses. Sometimes her kindness wasn't a soft word. Sometimes it was just a good look. Sometimes that's all you got. Sometimes a hug was all you got. She grew up hard. She had high expectations for her kids because we had all kind of opportunities that she never saw. Never, ever got to see the opportunities that we had. But what her kindness would be was to pick you up and tell you to get yourself a better life. Sometimes that was the kindness that she showed. You know, sometimes kindness is telling you the truth, even when you don't want to hear it. Sometimes clarity and getting your mind clear about how life is kindness. Sometimes getting you set back on the right path is kindness. Because it's out of concern and love for you that she's doing it. And she doesn't want anything back for herself. It's strictly for you that she's doing all this. Kindness is a different thing than a lot of people think it is. Ephesians 4:31-32 says this, let all bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice, and be kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another as God in Christ Jesus forgave you. That's true kindness. Put away all the bad stuff, the wrath, the anger, the physical, all that stuff. That is unkindness. We get a list of all what looks like unkind things, and then they give us kindness, tenderhearted, forgiving one another. That's what she would do. She'd take care of us no matter what. Did she put up with a lot? She stood on our head a lot. She grew up hard. One day my mom said something and just smiled at me. And I looked at her and said, Mama, what's wrong? She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you smiled. Didn't do that much. Didn't do that much. Grew up hard. A lot of you know what that's like, to have a parent like that. A lot of your parents grew up into depression. A lot of them grew up hard. We have such an easy way to go these days. We didn't have mothers that grew up hard with stern faces, that did everything they could just to make sure we had a life. And that was kindness. It's like, well, she didn't say nice and soft and comforting things. A lot of our mothers didn't. But they still showed kindness. Because no matter what, they were going to make sure we had what we need, and they were making consideration for us. That was their kindness. Mama didn't envy. She had every reason to. She had every reason to. The worst thing you can have is a jealous parent. Because if you got a jealous parent, they want to stop their kids from getting ahead and doing better than they did in life. That's a jealous parent. Mama wasn't that way. Mama was not that way. She could have been. Mama struggled to finish high school because a lot of days she wasn't able to go to school because she was taking care of the house, which her mama should have been. She barely squeaked by in high school. She never had a chance to go to college. She made sure we did. All of us had the opportunity to go to college. She made sure of it. There was a lot of things that she could have envied about our lives. She never did. She was happy for everything that we were able to do. She never held it against us. A lot of you have that same experience. A lot of your parents never had the chance to go do the big things that we were able to do. They don't get envious. They want the best for you. That's what mamas do. They want the best for you. They want to grow your kids into something they were never able to get. Every generation gets it better. That's the idea. 1 Timothy 6:6 says this, now godliness with contentment is great gain. Godliness with contentment. My mother was a godly woman and was content with what she had and was content that she didn't need what her children had. She wanted what she had. She wanted the best for her children. Godliness with contentment is great gain. Mama didn't envy. Mama didn't parade herself around or get puffed up. You know, not bragging. I ain't bragging. Anyway, but every one of Mama's kids wound up in a leadership position in whatever they did. All four of us. And every one of us turned out well. And she could have ran around telling everybody how great she was and what she did to make that happen. It was all Mama. She never did that. She didn't get puffed up. She didn't go around telling everybody what a great mom she was. She was just happy that her kids didn't wind up in jail. And trust me, she knew the stuff we'd done when we were younger, she'd be really happy we didn't wind up in jail. But she didn't claim credit for what we did. She didn't get puffed up. The only time my mom showed pride was when she talked about us. She would get pride in her voice when she would say, yep, Kevin did this week, or Amy did that. It was never about her. Never, ever was it about her. And that's saying a lot, because it's easy to get caught up and say, yeah, I made sure he went to college. I made sure he got up every morning and went to work. I made sure I stayed on his head and made sure he said, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, ma'am. I did this. She didn't claim credit for any of it. Never got puffed up. It was all about what she did, how she could help us. And she always made sure that we were taken care of. Proverbs 14:1 says this, a wise woman builds up her house, but a foolish one pulls it down with her hands. And that's what happens. A wise woman takes and builds her house up. We were Mama's house. She built us up. She took care of us. She pushed us. Well, good care of us. A foolish woman can get envious of her children. A foolish woman can get in competition with her children. A foolish woman can go around claiming every time their child does something, yeah, that's me. That's me. And you see it happen. You see it happen. But Mama, she was a godly woman. She didn't. She didn't put herself out there. She didn't get puffed up. And I'm telling you, the only time I ever saw pride in her eyes was when her kids accomplished something. She was proud for them. Apostle Paul said this, we could have thrown our weight around as Christ's apostles. Instead, we were gentle with you, like a nursing mother caring for her own children. Mothers don't throw their weight around. My mama, you know, what was it one of the comedians says? I'll kill you and make another one just like you. You know, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out, you know. Mama didn't do all that. You know, it wasn't about her. She didn't throw her position as mother around. She expected you to respect her position, but she was gentle and nursed us into adulthood, to where we turned out to be something. Mama didn't behave rudely or seek her own. Now I'm going to qualify this one. If you mess with her kids, she behaved rudely and sought her own. Don't mess with Mama's kids. You know, don't poke the bear. And it's what we used to say about Mama. I've heard Wayne talk about his mama. You know, you want to get in a fight, go mess with her, go mess with Wayne, she'd go down the street and take care of business. Well, that's the way mamas are. But you know, I didn't know what it meant to not be rude to your kids until I became a parent. And I didn't know how well my mom had treated me until I became a parent. Because it's easy to treat your kids rudely. It's easy to set your kids aside and your whole family aside to do something for others that you won't even do for them. It's rude. It's easy to tell them hush while you talk to somebody else and make them feel like a second-class citizen. It's rude. My mama never did that. We knew when we were supposed to talk and when we weren't, but she would never call us out in public for it. She would not do it in front of her friends or anybody else. Now, we did have conversations like, just wait till we get home. We had that conversation. And you know, back then, Mama didn't have dementia. When she died, she had dementia. She didn't remember any of that stuff. Back then, you would pray all the way home. Maybe she forgot. Her and her friends were having a really good time. Maybe she got over it. Maybe And then you get out the car and everything seemed all right. You go in the house and everything's good. And then she said, I need you to come in here for a minute. Like, oh, she didn't forget. But she would not do it to us in public. She wouldn't treat us rudely. She wouldn't call us down in front of other people. She would not beat us down in public. She just wouldn't do it. There was a time and a place for that. We knew the time, we knew the place, and we knew that it involved a switch that usually we had to pick. But you know what? It didn't hurt me. It made me a better person. Because when I became a leader in business, I remember the way I was treated by my mother. And I wouldn't correct people in public. A lot of people worked for me that wouldn't work for anybody else because they said, Kevin treats me with respect. They're like, what is it that you show them that you don't show anybody else? It's like we praise in public, discipline in private. And that's the way Mama did. If she had something good to say about you, she'd tell all her friends. If she had something bad to say about you, she'd wait. She got home and she'd tell you personally. But there's nothing wrong with that. And we should not treat our families worse than we treat other people. It's just rude. I watch parents coach kids in ball and other things. And the worst treated person on the team, 9 times out of 10, is their kid. That's just rude. That is a parent seeking his own, wanting to live his life through his child or hers. You can't do that. Don't. John Schmaltz told me this one time. He said, if you're not going to take every one of the boys on your basketball team and put them in your car and yell at them all the way home, don't do it to your kid. That ain't fair. It's just rude. Mama wasn't rude. She didn't seek her own. You know, Ephesians 6, 1-3 says, children, obey your parents in the Lord because it is right. This is a commandment. The commandment to honor your father and mother is one with a promise. So all things will go well with you and you will live long in the land. You know, Mama could throw the Bible at me and tell me, you're supposed to honor me and obey me. Never heard her quote that verse to me. In all my life, I never heard her quote that verse at me. She didn't have to. She built it into me from birth. Obey your parents, honor your mom and dad. That was just a way of life that we had to live and we're expected to live. I can never, and you can ask my brothers and sisters, I don't think we ever heard her quote that verse to us. Never had to. It was something that she taught us. She was a godly woman. She treated us with respect. She expected that in return. And she got it. She had 100% of our respect. Mama didn't provoke us or seek evil. Now you're like, so what does that mean, to provoke us? You know, you can get your kids to do a lot of things. You can prod them until they get mad. You can force your kids into a fight with you if you ain't careful. And I see that happen all the time. Mama never would do that. She didn't want to fight with you, and she won every fight you ever got in with you if you wanted to start one. That ain't bad. You knew when you walked in that you weren't going to win. Why try? That's a good thing. But she never provoked one. She never started, and she didn't put us in positions that we would mess up our testimony. She wouldn't ask us to do anything in our life that would have in any way question our testimony. She didn't provoke us to seek evil. She didn't make us personally or when we got out away from her do anything. And she would discourage us from doing any of those things. Now, when I started a fight, get ready. Me and Donna were married, had kids, and I got home. And I wanted to just poke the bear one day. We were sitting there, and I thought it would be fun to poke the bear. And so I said something that I knew would set her off. And it had not even got out of my mouth before a cup bounced offside my head. And I was looking at her, and Donna's in the floor laughing. My kids are in the floor laughing, and Daddy said, you asked for it. You know, she didn't provoke me to evil. She stopped it when I started it. Took about a half second. I was like, wow. But you know, if you go on, Titus 2 says that. Likewise, tell the older women to be reverent in their behavior, teaching what is good. That's what my mama did. That's what most mamas do. It goes on, you know, to say, don't be a gossip. I never heard my mama talk bad about anybody else in my house. She didn't have anything bad to say about other people. She didn't drink. She had a father that was an alcoholic who drank rubbing alcohol. He was such an alcoholic. She would not allow any alcohol to be around her because of it. That's why he kicked her through the front screen door. He was that drunk. She wouldn't drink. She wouldn't let us drink. She didn't want any part of it. She didn't let us. You didn't say a bad word in front of Mama. You did. She just look at you. And then Daddy would haul you out in the yard and say, you know you ain't never going to say that in front of my wife again. That was funny because, you know, you always see your mom as your mama. And you forget, you got a husband. And he's going to treat, when you get old enough, he's going to treat you the way he's going to treat any other man. He invited me out in the yard one day and said, you ever speak to my wife like that again, and I'm going to knock you out. I don't put up with people talking to my wife that way. I'm like, but she's my mama. He said, yeah, and she's my wife. You know, treat your mama well. Somebody needs to do that for mamas. That's the way it needs to be taken care of. But that's one of the best things I remember about my mom. She never, ever put us in a position where we intentionally sinned. Just wouldn't do it. She didn't rejoice in iniquity, but rejoiced in the truth. If you wanted to get in trouble quicker than anything in Mama's house, tell her a lie. She could not tolerate a liar. Couldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. If she asked you a question, tell her the truth. Because 9 times out of 10, if she asked you the question, she already knew the answer to the question she was asking. It wasn't going to get better for you. You're married to a lawyer. You know what that's like. You are an attorney. You know what that's like. You don't ask questions you don't know answers to, do you? Well, Mama would have made a great attorney because she didn't ask any questions she didn't know the answer to. And if you lied, you were just going to get worse and worse and worse. You told her the truth, punishment's pretty light. Then you had a hard talk. Then she gave you this one. Can't tell you how disappointed I am in my child. That's the absolute worst thing you can hear as a child, isn't it? Just can't tell you how disappointed I am that you're my child and did that. My mama worked at the school. Don't do that to your kids. That's the worst thing you can do. You know everything about your kids if you work at the school. All these other kids don't have to put up with that. But yeah, she would know before we got home everything we'd done wrong. And then she'd ask us about it. The easiest way to get it through it, just tell her the truth. But if you ask her, don't think you were going to get your feelings smoothed over if you were doing something wrong and you tried to get her to support it. She wasn't going to call to you. If you ask her directly a question, she's going to tell you the truth. Mom, I'm thinking about doing this. Why would you do that? You know that's a mistake. You know, you're waiting on your mama to say, hey, it's going to be okay. I think it's a good thing. No. Why are you doing that? Makes no sense. You know, she would tell you the truth every time. She truly hated a lie, but rejoiced in the truth. But that's part of a mother's love. And finally, this sits here. Mama bore all things, believed all things, hoped all things, and endured all things. If you want to sum up a mother in one sentence, if you want to sum up a mother, this is it. They bear so much that we know nothing about. The days when Daddy's on strike, Bell Company's on strike, we don't have any food, she's trying to scratch out something, and I watch her eat a mayonnaise sandwich. So I would have something to eat. They bear all things. When she would know that something was hurting us, and she could do nothing about it, she would bear all things. When she was in terrible pain with her back, No matter what, she would get up. Breakfast would be on the table at 7 o'clock. Watched her walk down the hall, supporting herself on both walls many mornings, put breakfast on the table. And she would bear that, so we would make sure that we had a good full stomach and could do our best at school. She bore all things. But she hoped for us, and she gave us hope. A mother truly gives us hope. If you want to know anybody that's got your back that wants you to do well in life, they'd give you the hope. When I was in college and I didn't like my major, and I went home, my dad's like, you picked it, I'm paying for it, you need to go do it. Finish it up. Got a lot of money in this. And Mom said, son, find something that you can be happy doing and go do it well. That's the answer. She gives us hope. And they endure so much. Even before we're born, they're enduring us. Way before we're born. They take care of so much for us. They endure so much so that we can have so much better life than they had. But I'm going to tell you what, the enduring takes a lot of character. My mama, in her rocking chair underneath it, the floor was wore out. Just wore out. Daddy would buy her a rug, she'd wear it through it. My mom would sit in that rocking chair with a Bible and pray every time we walked out the driveway. Still be there when you got home. Every time. Rock all night, reading her Bible, praying that we made it. She endured. That's the worst feeling you can have as a parent. Watching your kid drive out the driveway not knowing if they're coming home. You want to get on your knees? Give your kid a driver's license. That will put you on your knees quicker than anything else in the world. Put your kid in a driver's license. You will learn how to pray better than any other time in your life. It's scary. But she endured that because she knew we had to learn how to get out on our own. We had to learn how to get away from home. We had to learn how to make it without her standing. And while we're up here fighting to get away, she's fighting to make sure she doesn't get in the way. They endured all things. They wanted to watch us grow and watch us become great people. That's what mothers want. Now, if you're sitting here and you're going, all right, I was a mother and I didn't do all this and I could have failed and you're not a bad mother. We're all human. We're 100% human. But what this should remind you of is another love. Something that's even stronger than a mother's love. It's the love that Jesus has for us. We're still human. Jesus is not. No mother, not to Jesus' love. When you think about it, Jesus loved us before the world was created. He loved us and knew that he was going to have to do things for us that were extreme before we were ever thought of. Now, a mother loves her child, even the thought of her child. Jesus loved everybody, even the people that we would consider unlovable. I fully believe that my mama would have took a bullet for me. I fully believe that she would stand up and take any pain that people would have put on me. But I don't know if she'd have done it for somebody she'd never met in a country far away that she had no connection to. Jesus would do that. Every word of 1 Corinthians 13 applies to Jesus' perfect love. Jesus endured all things. Jesus gave us hope. Jesus loved us like nobody could ever love us. You become a parent, you get just this much of an inkling about why he would go for people he didn't know. Because he sees them. And he would do anything for his children like we would do anything. And if you see, he would do anything for his parent, for his like, their life. Jesus sacrificed. That's why Romans 5, we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. We were not even sons of God when Jesus made the supreme sacrifice for us. He didn't know if we would make, well, God knew, but we had the choice to go and be his son or not be his son, and he still died for us, just to give us the opportunity. Jesus loved us enough to die for us way before we even were thought of. What a love. As much as I love my mom, as much as she loved me, she did not have that kind of love for the world. Only Jesus has that perfect love for the world. So, what I'll tell you this morning, a mother's love is the strongest love probably that you'll ever experience in this human form without Christ in your life. The only way you're going to have a stronger love, a more perfect love, is to have Christ in your life. The mother's love's not perfect. There's an entire industry dedicated to the problems associated with mother's love's not being perfect. They call it counseling and psychiatry. Jesus' love is perfect. Jesus' love is complete. While we're not perfect, and our mothers weren't perfect, they loved us the best they could. But if you want to experience true perfection in love, you have to be a child. If everybody stand with, I hope everybody here is a child of Christ. Now is the time to become a child. It's very simple. Simply say a prayer like this: Jesus, I know I'm a sinner. Jesus, I know in love you died for my sin. Please come into my heart.